Happy Friday. I forgot to post my go live notifications. Let's do that now. Hey Rig. The wave function collapse video you posted looks really cool. I'll take a look at that this weekend, I think. Not in a position where I really need to do wave function collapse. But it's always something that I'm fascinated by, just as a method. All right, go live notification is posted. Thank Godot, it's Friday. I got a laugh out of that with that one. TGIF. All right, we're picking some different music for today. I tried something yesterday that was not as hype as I thought it would be, so I'm gonna try something else. This also might not be as hype as I want it to be, but we'll give it a shot. How's everyone doing? It's nearly the weekend. Oh, hey, Stubenhocker. You were wondering where the noises were suddenly coming from? It's a me. Here I am. I forgot I left myself on the title card here. Yeah, you just lurk in the channel ready for me to go live, yeah? Hey, Amanda. Yeah, TGIF. Thank Godot, it's Friday. Yep. How are you doing? You hoard your... Oh, you just keep the tabs. You're one of the tab hoarders. I'm not. I eliminate tabs with extreme prejudice. I cannot. I've learned how to use tab groups for when I'm working on something and I need to, like, save them all. Tab groups are pretty cool. It's a problem. Oh, it's only a problem from a technical standpoint because you don't have infinite memory, right? And Chrome is pretty greedy. Hopefully you don't use Chrome, but, you know. I do, so I can't judge. You do use Chrome? I think they've gotten better, but they are pretty greedy in terms of resources. They've definitely gotten better in recent years as far as, like, deactivating tabs so they don't just use literally all of your resources. All right, today is the last day of our self-imposed refactor week. We're working. Our goal is to have the game running again by the end of the day with our new buffers, our new dynamic buffers all set into place. Because I've been waffling pretty hard on how I want to manage buffers, dynamic buffers. And we need to settle on something. I've been going back and forth. Yesterday, we ended up having this, we reworked our process, so we had a separate add buffer step that we did first before we ran our add buffer component. I think I've changed my mind about that. I think I'm going to go back to having it be a single step, a single function add buffer component. And we'll probably add a set buffer component to make it dynamic so that we can resize. But how are you doing, Stubenhocker? We're almost at the weekend. And Rig. And Amanda. Just how's everyone doing today? It feels like it's been a week. I'm going to try to finish up my work early today because I feel like I've done like 2 weeks worth of work this week. It's been just one of those crazy weeks. All right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go into the world function, or the world class here. we are going to get rid of our add buffer function. Because yeah, I realized I thought it might be cool to like be able to define buffers that aren't owned by an entity. Like maybe you keep a buffer on your system or whatever. But if we're gonna do that, we might as well just keep the data directly on the system, and then just manage a reference to the system through the world or something like that. So I was like, maybe I don't care about that. So I've decided I don't care about this, and we're just gonna rewrite the add buffer component. That way we don't accidentally add a component that's a buffer component. Because at the moment, the way I have this written is you add the buffer first, and then you add the component. And if you accidentally mess that up, you can get into a really bad state. So we don't want to allow for that as a thing. So I think we're going to go back and then forward. One step back, 2 steps forward. That's what we aim for. I don't know about everyone else. It's starting to get warm here in San Francisco. It's starting to get a little toasty when I'm doing these streams. All right, so we're gonna rework this. So we still need to create the entity. That's just an important initial step. And then instead of this whole mess here, we're gonna go back to doing something like this, add buffer component. So what we need to do is we need to rework the block buffer component. So we will say world.add buffer component, and it's going to be block buffer component block. I don't actually know if we need to have the block defined here, but I'm going to do it for now, just because that's in line with how this stuff works currently. So we do this. We say component dot flags dot block buffer. We'll fix that because we'll need to move that over. And then here's where we're going to say new buffer component. This is getting kind of big, so we'll split this up here. I think it's kind of awkward to do this, but we're going to say maybe we don't need to pass in a component. Maybe we get the component back. No, we should pass in the component. Because sometimes you will... No, actually, I guess you'll never know what your buffer ID is. So what we need to do is we need to have a constructor for the block buffer component that just takes a length. So we say board.volume. Actually, the block buffer component could take an AABB, couldn't it? I don't want it to, but it could. Let's see how that works. I don't know how much people despise the parentheses as curly braces thing. But we're going to do it here for now. So new block buffer component. So we need a constructor that only takes... For now, it's only going to take a length. So... Because, yeah, we're not going to have... I'm down for another quiet stream today, honestly. Feels like what we're going to be getting. I'm tired. I sat down the whole stream yesterday, and it meant I was sitting the whole day, and I think it, like, destroyed my back. So, my back still hurts, but we're going to stand. We're going to try to stand for a couple hours. We're going to keep moving. I need the Primogen, like, bouncy ball. I need to be just sitting here, like, bouncing. Yeah, bouncy. Ooh, such a good time. For all you Mighty Boosh fans. right, so we can do it like this. How do I do it here? So I just pass in the AABB. I guess that's fair. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say AABB. AABB, because an iBuffer component only really needs to know its length. It's just going to be AABB.volume. Rig had to step away almost immediately. How am I doing? I'm all right. I'm all right. We're tired. Our back hurts, but it's Friday. So we're doing okay. How are you, Rig? I really like the, I'm excited to see the video you posted on wave function collapse. I haven't ever needed to do that myself, but it seems like a really exciting way to do it. All right, so we've got our block buffer component. It's like a mouthful to say this, but I think it's okay. It makes it very particular, very specific what kind of thing it is. So we're gonna say, let's reorder these a little bit. Give our block buffer. We also have this generic spatial buffer I was messing around with as an alternative to just defining a block buffer. Kind of interested in doing this as a generic thing. We could also just say a block buffer is a spatial buffer with a type of block. I don't know. It's from the guy who inspired WFC. Oh, it's from the guy who inspired wave function collapse? Like... Oh, it wasn't Richard Feynman? The tech wave function collapse was built off? Okay, yeah, for sure. I mentioned Richard Feynman because the joke is that like he's like the progenitor of like any like practical understanding of like how to deal with quantum mechanics. And a hell of a bongo player. Okay, so we're not going to pass in board.volume. We're just going to pass in board. And actually, I'll probably collapse this back to a single line. If it fits. I wonder if I can just say return new T1 when I'm doing this function. Instead of having to pass in this new block buffer component. I guess it's better to do this if you want the buffer component to actually know about the AABB. I'm actually not sure that we do. Let's just look at this. Wave function collapse doesn't really have anything to do with collapsing wave functions. It's just a name, probably for marketing. Yeah, who makes an analogy and the thing you're analogizing is like something that nobody understands? You're like, yeah, I'm going to come up with a technique. It's analogous to wave function collapse. And it's like, yeah, because everyone understands how wave function collapse works. And that's just a great analogy to make. It's kind of funny. It's something only a programmer would do. Or a mathematician. It does sound cool. But yeah, I'm excited to learn more about that. Obviously, like, the thing, like, it's obviously been around for a while, but I feel like Townscaper was the game that everyone, like, lost their minds over for this. For, like, actually doing this. Is there going to be a video of towns being scaped? No, of course there isn't. But yeah, this uses wave function collapse, and it's so cool. It's kind of more of a toy than a game, but... Are you really not going to show it working? Maybe if I opened it on Steam. But yeah, this is so cool. This was one of the like really solid examples of like what you could achieve with this tech. Super cool. I don't think there's really any use case for us, particularly. We'll see. It depends on how pre-made, how we end up generating like encounter points of interest, like ships or space stations or asteroids. I could see using that for things like generating asteroids and wreckage and stuff like that. Yeah, the visual feel of that game is great. They really nailed the eye candy. Yeah, they really did. They made it very appealing. Because I feel like you could implement wave function collapse in a way that's like not visually particularly obvious what you're doing. All right, so right now we have add buffer component T1, T2. We pass in the T1 value, which we need because we're adding the component. That makes sense. Ah, right. So we do need to. It's a void, so we don't get it back. I feel like we don't need it back. Then the real question is, do we need to pass in the AABB? I guess it depends on how the buffer itself is stored. Component. Oh, oh, shoot. Wait. We need to specify the memory size of the buffer. And that memory size... No, that memory size is based on the size of the block. Right, so I'm not... This times component types component size. This is wrong. It needs to be this. Length time on unsafe.size of. It needs to be this. This could, I guess, be a... This could be a... add buffer. This could be a private function. Private function, add buffer. We could just call it here. So buffer ID, we could get the buffer ID back and it could just be add buffer T2 value. No, it's dot length. Then we could get rid of this part. So we get the buffer. So we keep the add buffer as a private function, just for utility's sake. We add this with the unsafe size of t. Yeah, this could work here. Add buffer T2, T1 value, and then here we would say copy entity with component, and we plug in value with buffer ID equals buffer ID. We don't even need to store the buffer ID. We could say with buffer ID equals add buffer. That's fine. Could do it like that. It's all one. In which case, T1 is an unmanaged iBuffer component. Yeah. This could be fine. This could be fine. That doesn't break any of our existing functionality here. I do want to move this function then up to here. This way we still have our add component check, so we don't accidentally use buffer components this way. I'm hiding the file explorer. I think I kind of prefer that. I think I prefer to hide that. Hide this most of the time. Keeps a better, makes it less likely that my big like noggin here is blocking visually. All right, I'm pleased with that. I think that's fine. Then we need to go back to the game here, and we need to rewrite. We need to get rid of all this junk. Then the only real question is, so if we do that, and let's just say for argument's sake, we want to grab this thing. Actually, let's not do that here. So we're doing that. We're adding our buffer component. Add buffer component. So we submit a block buffer component, and we tell it the block. Should that actually look like this? I cannot type today. No, that's not syntactically correct. It's fine. It's weird that I kind of like having these with the space like this. I guess that's not consistent with really the usage of parentheses or square braces. That's more consistent. A little more confusing, but more consistent. All right, so we've got our add buffer component. We're adding our new buffer component type. So we're doing that. And then when we go to one of our systems that needs to use that, like here, or actually maybe a better example is here. So we get our, so we're going to pull out our settled buffer. So the settled buffer is game.world.getComponent. We could actually even just say, if we don't need to hold onto the component, which my argument is we don't need to. Hey, Fusionist, Merry Friday, indeed. How are you doing? We're finishing up our quote-unquote refactor week here, and we're going to hopefully have replaced our old static buffers with dynamic buffers by the end of the stream. How are you doing? All right, so we get this component. I'm just going to call it buffer component for now. Buffer component is this. And then what we're going to do to get the buffer, we're actually going to say variable block buffer is equal to game.world.get. This one we only needs to be read on. This one's read only, right? So we get a read only buffer of type block. And we pass in the buffer component. Technically, we pass in the component's buffer ID. If we pass in the whole component, we could do like a safety check. But let's not worry about that at this exact moment. So get read-only buffer. This is where I'm deciding whether we want like a generic buffer, like a series of generic buffers, or if we want something particular. Like, do we want a concrete block buffer? Or do we want spatial buffers? Like a generic spatial buffer, like of type block. And if we have a concrete block buffer, we can have some neat tricks. Like we could define behavior for how block buffers merge together. But that code might actually want to be system specific rather than type specific. Like the tile system might have a different opinion about how blocks should be merged than the tool system. And in fact, I can tell you that's pretty definitely the case. It's going good for you, Fusionist? You've been working on a NES style RPG for a few days? Oh, sick. Perhaps tonight you code the battle screen for it? Ooh, that sounds fun. So what do we think? Generic buffer type or concrete type? Let's make a generic type because we already have this concrete type that we're using. Let's just go with the generic for now and see and plug that in. Fusionist, you got completely hooked on the first Final Fantasy titles. Warp. Hey, no Jewel, Maximum Warp. How's it going? Your isometric tile stuff is looking real good now, no Jewel. Really sick. Let me see if I've got it available here. Yeah, like this stuff. Didn't realize you were... Oh, no, there's no audio. That's fine. Well, you're talking over this, but I just want to show the way you're layering these things. Super cool. Play that again. Yeah, this is really slick. Love that. Fusionist, you're at 5 now. You think you said that before? Repetition for emphasis. What are you at 5 now? Like Final Fantasy Tactics titles? How many Final Fantasy Tactics games are there? Order and rating of the FF Tactics. Oh, let's just go to the Wikipedia. How many games are in this series? Oh, it doesn't say. It would be nice if there was just a list. I bet there is somewhere. Just the regular ones. There's 16 in the main series just for tactics games. We're not talking about like the full Final Fantasy series. We're just talking about tactics, right? That's crazy. Very cool. I know a lot of people reference this stuff as inspiration. I've never played any of them. Weirdly, I'm not a tactics game guy. I really haven't played many. Like the ones that influence me now are like much newer ones. Like I enjoyed Invisible Ink. What else? I never really got into Banner Saga. I played the first Banner Saga, but I never played the other two. Fusionist, so many offshoots. Rig, FF7 was your game. That's fair. Not a tactics game, though. Fusionist, including one series which began as Final Fantasy Legend, made by one of the co-creators of the first two, but it's a different thing. Oh, so you mean there's 16 main series Final Fantasy games? Because that's what the number they're up to, right? But yeah, I know there's a ton of tactics games. All right, so we're gonna continue on with this idea of a generic spatial buffer that takes a axis-aligned bounding box. I guess it needs to know about its buffer ID, probably. Maybe not, though. It probably should. And then, yeah, so here's the deal. Right now, this has the read-only and the read-write. I don't think I want that. I don't think I want to have both on the same buffer. I want you, if I ever do some kind of like dirty flag or like a change detection thing, like if I do a system that can tell whether you're read-writing or just reading to either components or buffers or whatever, I definitely want to not accidentally pull both the read-only and the read-write. So I think I would want to make variations. It's a little awkward because then I could also just, I guess, pass a Boolean that's like read-only. No, because then it would still have the field. Yeah, I guess I'd want to read. So I could say like, buffer 3D instead of calling it a spatial buffer. I could say like buffer 3D. Because I could also have a buffer 2D. So I could say something like buffer 3D read write or something like that, or read only. Hey, Repo. It's good. We're finishing up our little refactor week. Fusionist. Oh, you're playing the main series now, and then you're gonna maybe play the tactics series. Okay, for sure. For sure. Oh, so wait. I might have misread you earlier. Oh, you're working on an NES-style RPG. I don't know why I thought you meant a tactics RPG. You're working on a regular, quote-unquote, regular RPG. That makes more sense that you're talking about the mainline Final Fantasy series. JRPG, yeah. Although, Rig, this might just be a sparkling RPG, unless it's from, you know, the Champagne region. So. That's not my joke. I stole that joke, but it's a good joke, so I'm going to keep using it. All right, so we're going to try having a read-only version and a read-write version of these generic buffers, and we're going to try that. Although I should probably do this correctly. Should probably do Control-R. Actually, it's Control-Shift-R, even though it doesn't say that. So we're going to call this buffer 3D read only. And so this is going to have the read-only span. It's just going to be called span. I can't do the thing that I like doing, I think, if I do the init and I do the... Oh, maybe I don't need to have this. Yeah. Okay, this can be the primary constructor, can't it? Can it not? So it needs an AIBB. And it needs a... Well, the buffer ID should probably come first. Whatever. Yeah, the buffer ID will come first. I actually don't know if it needs a buffer. Oh, no, it does need a buffer ID, doesn't it? I don't know if its buffer ID needs to be public, though. Let's go do that. I don't think it needs to know its length. Yeah, maybe we can just define its length. And so we don't need this. We can say span init equals. We can just have it be like this, right? We don't need an explicit constructor. So this is, so yeah, we want the length. I guess if the length changes, we would want to validate. So we could have a, what we could do is we could say length equals AABB.volume. We could specify a getter and a setter. And if this gets, well, no, this is a read-only ref struct, so I guess it doesn't matter. In which case we don't need to do this. I just thought for a second I was like, well, if the length changes, we should probably get the span again. But yeah, if any of this changes, we get the span again because it's a read-only ref struct. So it's not like we can change this thing. So equals buffer 3D only is buffer ID dot equals other dot buffer ID. This is a property. I just made it like a... Oh, is it because it's not a record struct? I'm treating this like it's a record struct, and I don't think it's a record struct now. It's not, is it? We can't make... There's no such thing as a ref record struct, I don't think. Or a record ref struct. I don't think there is. So we can't... Yeah, so we can't take advantage of that, I don't think. So we need to say public buffer ID, public AABB. Doesn't need an init. Also potentially doesn't need to be public. I guess we should make it public because you might actually want to pull some stuff out of the AABB. Cannot access non-static property buffer ID in static context. Huh? Can I just pass this in? No, I can't, can I? Oh, so if I pass in buffer ID and not buffer... So if I don't pass in the property and instead I pass in the parameter, that's fine. Okay. Works for me. Does this need an init then? Seemingly not. Why does it say that isn't used, but this one is? Where is this being used? I'm gonna get rid of it until I can figure out where that's being used. Okay, so this works. This would work for us. So instead of saying read-only, we would say span or default. Be the T's default, right? So this should work for any 3D buffer. If this isn't a record struct, there's probably some additional functions I need to include here. right, so let's try this. So in the tile system, we can say buffer 3D read-only block. It's game.get read-only buffer block buffer component.buffer ID. Oh, we don't need to say this. We could just say this equals new buffer 3D only block. And when we pass in, we should probably just pass in the buffer component, right? That's probably a better way to do this. Instead of separating it out like this, let's just do that. Let's say, oh, iBuffer component. No, that doesn't work, does it? That's awkward. So yeah, I guess we'd need to do it this way for now. Unless I can find a... Unless I get a little more complex with the interfaces. Like we could have a 3D buffer component. Say iBuffer 3D. Repo, what are we working on today? Refactoring? Yeah, we're reworking our buffers, our like data buffers, which is like large groups of data, tightly packed, associated with a specific entity, but not component data. So for our case, it's like the block volume that belongs to each space. Like for right now, we're just working on the editor spaces, the workspaces that the tool uses. And so we're just reworking those a little bit. I want them to be a little better. I want to avoid this cost of having to get the span every time you need it. And I want to create a buffer as a ref struct that can just hold its own span. So then we don't need to mess around with this thing. And then it's easier, hopefully, to track changes to the buffer. Because anytime you grab a buffer 3D read-only, we can do things. Well, not the read-only, but when we do the read-write one, we can mark the buffer as, we can like increment the buffer components change version or something. Or the buffer's change version. Or I don't know. I don't need to do that stuff right now, but from my experience with other entity component systems, I might eventually want to do that. Or I can guarantee that there haven't been changes, at least not structural changes. So, seems good. Seems good. So what we're doing then, is we're going back to this tile system. So we're saying buffer 3D read only. We can just say variable. We can say block buffer is new buffer 3D only block. We can't pass in the buffer component yet. I want to think about how to do that. I'd rather not have to do it like this. We pass in the ID and we have to pass in the I wonder if I could just say buffer component.deconstruct. Oh, we only get the AABB out of that? Oh, weird. That also isn't, I guess, necessary. Big K. Did I do CS50? No, I have no programming education of any kind, Big K. I'm totally self-taught. We've been working in Godot for the last few years, and before that I was a Unity hobbyist for about 15 years. So, no formal programming education, and I'm sure it shows. How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. Oh, no, Jewel. Random question. Have I worked with Asprite scripts? Did I write some yourself? And did I use any extension? No. I've been thinking about how I want to automatically build out tile atlases from collections of 3D objects. Not I don't mean 3D in like true 3D, but I've been thinking about that in a way of like, I want to be able to, like, this is one object. the first 4 tiles here. I want to be able to draw this out, and I want to be able to build tile atlases from collections of these things. So we're going to do that procedurally. I don't know if I'm going to use Sprite scripts for it, or if I'm going to have the conversion occur in Godot, or even like in... I don't know when or where I'm going to do that, but I definitely want to get into something like that. What are you using Sprite scripts for? Stupid Hawker, you have written one Sprite script. It was fun to watch it whiz through the file doing its thing. Okay, maybe I should think about doing it that way. I'd be tempted to do it in the engine, or even more so in the game, just because we're already doing most of our editing tools in the game. That's dangerous because then eventually I'm just gonna have something bad happen. But maybe I do it in like a mod menu within the game where you can plug in files and you can watch the file get transformed into like a tile atlas or something. But I don't know, maybe I just include Sprite scripts or something. I don't know, it's a good question about how I'm gonna support that, something like that. Oh Lord, there we go. No, Joel, you're probably going to do a video on ISO tile map creation with Sprite, summarizing your experience, also scripting. You wrote some scripts speeding up creating tile maps for your game faster. That's awesome. I would love to see some of that stuff. That would be fascinating to me. All right, so buffer component. We get the component. Block buffer. We get this thing. We get this buffer 3D read only. Pass these in. So how could I do this in a way where I just pass the buffer component in? I probably need like, so I have my iBuffer component interface. I probably need like a iBuffer 3D variation so that I can pass in a specific buffer component. We don't actually store the AABB. Oh, no, we do. Because this is a record struct, which means we do store the AABB. This is not a record struct, so we have to, like, actually declare these. Is my understanding of how this works. I've gotten really excited about different kinds of structs. All right, so I guess I need to make a read-write variation of this. So let's do that. Let's duplicate this. Is there not an easy duplicate in Writer? Is that not something they want me to do? I guess I just Control-C, Control-V, huh? Enter a new name, a name for the new copy. Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to do. Buffer 3D read-write. So we'll change this to read-write. Instead of a read-only span, it will just be a span T. GameWorld.game.get read-write buffer T. Cannot convert get. Oh, oops, I wrote the wrong thing. Read-write buffer. I don't love the idea that I'm gonna have to write 2 versions of this, but I can't think of a better way to do it, so. And that's actually not that burdensome, so who cares? let's fix whatever. Oh, yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to say... Yeah, I kind of don't want to have to declare this variable, so I kind of want to be able to pass that in as a parameter here. So what can we do for that? We could say buffer 3D. We could say that this takes an... Well, let's make a new interface. I don't love the name iBuffer component because it is a component, but it doesn't buffer components. And I don't like iComponent buffer because it's not a buffer of components. So I don't know what to name this. And I can't just call it iBuffer because I mean, I could call it iBuffer, but there's already an iBuffer. So we're just going to keep calling it iBuffer component, and we're going to call this iBuffer component 3D just to make it different. We're going to say iBuffer component 3D. We're going to say it extends iBuffer component. I can have an interface that implements an interface, right? That's not crazy. There we go. So this is going to have a buffer ID, a length. Oh no, it doesn't need any of this. All it needs is an AABB. So public AABB, AABB. It needs an init and a get. This is kind of stupid, but this would work, wouldn't it? So then here we can say, instead of taking a buffer ID and this, we can say iBuffer component 3D of T. Buffer. Well, we can just say component. We can say buffer component. And then so we'd say buffer component 3D dot buffer ID y. It has no getter. What? Oh, it doesn't. And then here we would say buffer component 3D dot AABB. This isn't the best, but there's boxing involved here, I'm pretty sure. But this is not something that we're gonna have to do too often, so I'm not terribly concerned. Oops. Aditya, you're not gonna lie, you don't know what's FTL? Well then, I feel like I'm very lucky that you popped in here. So FTL, let me grab Steam here. FTL Faster Than Light. Classic game, 2012, by Subset Games, Jay Ma and Matthew Davis. It's like a simulation, it's kind of like a spaceship simulation game. You're like the captain of this little ship, and it's hard to see, so let me biggerize it here. You've got little crew members, you've got ship systems. The game is mostly about making sure your crew is where they need to be, as well as the power being distributed to where it needs to be. And you can target the other ship and stuff like that. This is like a flat, top-down 2D thing. Classic game. One of the great games that like popularized roguelikes. For the new generation, I should say. You know, the modern roguelike revival of like Spelunky and FTL and whatever. Great game. All about the simulation of like what's it like to be the captain of a spaceship. That's the promise of this game. There's no positioning, there's just your ship and their ship. So we're trying to capture some of this magic and joy in our own way. We're kind of making the game bigger, and we're kind of slowing it down a little bit, and we're kind of doing an isometric 3D take on it. That's what we're trying to do. So right now we're working on the tools that will let us build these 3D game spaces that are obviously isometric. Not isometric, they're obviously like tile map 2D kind of stuff. Like this isn't fully 3D, like these aren't models, this is just faked. So we have a whole system in place, like an auto tiling system that fakes these 3D environments. And we're right now working on some tools and some of the underlying tech that powers these 3D spaces. So buffer 3D, that's what we're working on right now. Okay, so this works, this would work fine. And then I can go back here to the tile system and I can say, I can just pass in the component. Can I not say that? Argument type block buffer is not assignable to parameter. Do I have to say something like as iBuffer component 3D block? No, that's not how you do that here. There's no built-in, there shouldn't need to be a built-in conversion. I should be able to pass in the buffer component, right? Like, am I crazy? Oh, this is a block buffer. This is the wrong thing. I want block buffer component, not block buffer. Argument type, it's not assignable to parameter type iBuffer component 3D block. Okay, so now do I say as iBuffer component 3D block? No, it still doesn't work. This shows how much I know about interface implementations. Buffer, I'm pretty sure we set this up. Oh, we did not. We did not set this up. Okay, I was like, I'm losing my mind here. We just forgot to add the 3D. So it implements iBuffer component 3D. Great. Hey, Rhiannon Journey. How's it going? Happy Friday. So now that I have it specified to be like this a one. Now it works. Okay, now I can pass in my buffer component. I'm still pretty sure that's going to cause boxing, but I'm okay with that for now. I'm sure we can write that in a more clever way where it doesn't. But for now, I'm okay with that because now we don't actually even need to declare this variable. We can just do this. Oh, Lord, what did I do? I dared touch the scroll wheel. There we go. Now we don't even need to declare the buffer component. So now we can say something like settled blocks equals buffer 3D read-only block. And now I can just pass that in by itself. I don't need to pass in the buffer and the span, which is the whole point of why we were doing this. The only thing we need to do is make these functions actually accept this as a thing. So instead of a block buffer, it's going to take... What did I call this? It's a buffer 3D read-only of type block. I'm going to say we're going to call it block buffer. So now the problem is that we just need to... When we have a reference to a block buffer, we just say, or a span, we just say block buffer.span. And that is not bad. That is not a bad improvement. Feels good to me. Could be better? Sure. It's pretty cool though, because we only pay the cost of getting the buffer when we create this this thing. Let me create the actual ref struct. Should I say, like, ref? Because that's what it is, right? It's a ref. So I should pass it in as a ref, yeah? Because I don't want to recreate this block buffer every time I pass it, because then I'm just paying that cost. So will this not work? Argument is value while parameter is declared as ref. Oh, maybe that doesn't work. I'll have to double check how that works. Should be fine to pass it around by value. If we pay that cost, whatever, I can live with that. Buffer 3D read-only block. I might actually... I could collapse some of these functions back together. Get or default. Block buffer, get or... Oh, yeah, we just don't pass this anymore. Yeah. Maybe I move the view absolute. One thing I want to do is I want to change the... I'm going to change absolute and relative to, like, global and local, maybe. I don't know. I'm actually not 100% sure about that change. All right, let's finish correcting these. Get rid of this. We no longer have to pass the span in to our own buffer, which was such an insane workaround that we were using. Truly insane. Maybe we don't need ref on a ByRef-like object. Maybe that just handles it itself. I'm relatively new to dealing with ByRef-like objects, like ref structs and stuff, so... And spans. I like them a lot, what I've done so far with them, but I'm still learning. Where are the rest of these errors? Oh yeah, we don't even need these here. Yeah, man, we are avoiding so much trouble. Not trouble, but tedium would probably be the better word with this refactor. All right, up here, what do we got going on? Cutaway tile cell data, you need to get fixed. All right, where's the problem? No problem? Love it. Love to see it. All right, so we just do the same thing here. We say preview. We don't even need to say buffer. We could just say preview blocks. We could say blocks. We could say buffer. We could say whatever. I like preview blocks. So we do the same thing here. We're just passing in a different entity. So instead of the settled blocks, we're grabbing the preview blocks entity. All right, upgrade grid tile map data. Oh, this only takes a single buff. Oh yeah. No, we understand this one. So block equals block buffer dot span get index. Should I do it like this? Block buffer dot span block buffer dot get index AABB dot view absolute. Yeah, that's correct. We could probably simplify this by passing a. I don't know. We could change how this works. We could make that, because right now we're saying block buffer dot span, block buffer dot get index, block buffer dot AABB dot view absolute. So we could have a simpler like block buffer dot get. We could just use getter default. I mean, then we still have to say. Do I want getter default? Yeah, I do want getter default, huh? We could skip some stuff if we did that. Oh yeah. So this whole mess, this stuff. What even is this? Oh, this is old. So this, instead of saying block buffer dot contains block m, this is now just simply block buffer dot get or default -x. That's so much cleaner. Do we need to hold on to the -x position? Do we actually use that? We do not. We don't actually use that position for anything, so we could actually just get rid of that, and we could actually just put that in here. Yeah. All right, let's do that. That's an easy refactor. Easy wins are what we're about today. I feel like there are times where we're going to want the coordinates to stick around, but this is not one of those times. Watch me change my mind about that, like, immediately. Simplify the names. Hydrate, Stubenhocker. Thank you. Good call. All right, well, that's nice. That simplifies the names. It simplifies a lot of things. That's all the compiler errors. on the tile system. Oh, Lord. I do that so often on accident. All right, so that's easy. All right, you wanted to hydrate, you're going to get a hydrate. Appreciate it. All right, so calculate used bounds. We don't actually use this function, but I'm going to refactor it now anyway. All right, I'm pretty pleased with this. I wasn't 100% sure how we were going to do this last night, but I think having the iBuffer component and the iBuffer component 3D is fine. I never used the init for this. Really? How is that true? Okay, you say so. I don't love these files that are like 8 lines that just are just these type definitions that are just so boring and have nothing to them. But they'll probably get more complicated over time. I don't know why I declare a type here. I don't actually use this in anything. Just the only thing I do with it is I try to guarantee that the type is unmanaged, which I feel like is reasonable. Okay, so we have block buffer component. Block buffer is going to be deprecated. So where are the remaining uses of this? Fill system, component.types, tool system, almost entirely the tool system, and a little bit in the fill system. All right, so tool system's next for the refactor. Because now we're switching to the buffer 3D read-only. I'm glad this is generic. I'm glad I'm not going to need to make a separate buffer for every single... The only thing I need to do is make a separate buffer component so that, you know, and I can even go more particular than that. We could have, I could say something like ship block component, ship block buffer component, or something like that. I could call this blocks plural. I could call this blocks component instead of block buffer. I kind of like that. In which case I would probably change this from iBuffer component 3D to iComponent buffer 3D. No, I still don't like that. I don't like any of the names of this. Let's just stick with block buffer component for now. That's an easy refactor if we change our mind. So, what we're going to be doing here, going to the tool system. So right now we declare the preview blocks. We're going to declare this now. Bazooka. Sprite take forever, or is it you? Sprite does take forever. There's a reason why most people aren't doing 2D sprite stuff anymore. It is deeply tedious. A lot of cases you have to statically draw things that would otherwise be procedural, or like a processing effect or something. It takes forever. There's a reason why, like, if you look at Dead Cells art, I don't know what to write, style, technique, something like that. The way they did Dead Cells is they did a 3D pipeline for 2D games. This is a good case study to understand why people don't do this sort of thing anymore. Yeah, so they'd make their character in 3D, and then they'd convert it to 2D. using a number of tricks. And so they had this beautiful 2D game. They did not have to do 3D sprite or 2D sprites. They did not have to do 2D animation. To be fair, a lot of technique went into this, but in many ways, I would say this is the modern approach for that sort of thing now. God, game developer, you used to be cool. Back when it was Gamma Sutra. Yeah, this is a cool article. I'll throw this in the chat. Rhiannon Journey, naming things, one of the two great problems in programming. The other is cache invalidation and off by one errors. That's the joke. You nailed it. You're 100% right. You're 150% right. Bazooka, you were like 5 hours for 2 frames. Yeah, it's not easy. I've done very simple animations right now. Like, my characters are these teeny tiny little duders. And I haven't filled out, like, I don't have very many keyframes for them. Ezra in the house. Coming in hot. Welcome in, Raiders. Raid message says Exo Drifter. Hey, Exo Drifter. So, like, this is, like, the bare minimum of, like, what I'm doing right now for character animation. We've got some more environmental art animation that we've been working on, like our doors. We put a lot more effort into our doors. Like, here's the door animation. Ooh, an actual character? I know. Hey, McCory. Chris GW. Oh, Symbol! What up, Symbol? Long time. Bazooka hit. Yeah, it's like faster, but it doesn't look as good. No, converting 3D to 2D won't look as good generally. It won't be as tight. But I feel like from an economic standpoint, that's just what people are doing now. Hey, Ezra, how was the stream? We were talking about just how hard and time-consuming it is to do 2D graphics, and kind of how a lot of people nowadays are just doing 3D stuff, like Dead Cells, taking through 3D models and animations and converting them down into 2D, just to save time and effort. Yeah, hit him with the triple door, Rhiannon. Symbol, it's been a while. You've been super busy getting your game ready for Steam. That's awesome. That's very exciting. Which game are you pushing to Steam? Ezra, your stream was good. You don't know, flavor-wise, you still prefer 2D instead of those shortcuts. Yeah, I'm still doing hand-drawn 2D, but that's because I have no 3D art skills. I barely have 2D art skills for pixel art, and those are newly acquired. I am excited to try things like Blockbench and stuff, but that's not the same thing. Like, I really like to see the stuff Hillfort Games is doing for their game, which is like 2.5D. And has a really interesting mix of 3D and 2D. It's like 2D characters with like a 3D background, which is kind of what I'm doing in terms of my environment is in diametric perspective. But like a lot of the characters are just side on. Like this little guy is kind of just side on. Like when I just... Because that's kind of the only way I could figure out how to draw a person. Because I'm terrible at people. Maybe you'll change your mind once you learn Blender. Oh, Blender would be way too much for me. I want to try Blockbench. Blockbench looks cool. Bazooka, the amount of work that went into 2D sprite fighting games must have been insane. They got like thousands of animations per character. Yeah, I mean, I don't know anyone that has thousands, but like if you look at the way they did Mortal Kombat, that was all like rotoscoped, right? Like they actually got actors in the studio to play those characters. Because that was like the only way that's, you know, that was the only way they could do that back then. Yeah, like here's the footage they recorded for like the original Mortal Kombat. So good. I love this stupid stuff. What else used this? That super seminal fighting game, 2D fighting game. Karateka? Karateka also did that. Karateka is like maybe the OG goat of 2D fighting games. And yeah, that person, the developer of that game just recorded themselves and their family members like doing karate moves. And then like, I think they traced or rotoscoped them. Lurk, no worries though. Thanks, Ezra. Thank you for the raid. Thanks, Raiders, for hopping in here. I hope you have a great Friday. If you gotta go, have a great weekend. We're closing up what we're calling our refactor week, so we'll get back to it soon, but we've been working on dynamic buffers today. Super boring. No Jewel. You started with animating too recently. You did an idle animation for a character of your game. I presume you mean it took forever. Rig, there was one that used claymation, Primal something. Oh yeah, what was that? Primal Rage, is that? No, that's the film. Oh no, but that's also the arcade game. Yeah, Primal Rage. I think Primal Rage used... Yeah. Let me see. Development. Yeah, they crafted model figures of the fighters with metal armatures. That's super cool. And they airbrushed them with they did stop motion animation. 400 shots of each fighter. So cool. Yeah, Primal Rage. Good stuff. Yeah, I remember playing Primal Rage in like the old arcades as a kid. That was fun. Whenever I went to like Nickel City or whatever, I was playing that stuff. It was good times. All right. So, welcome Raiders. I guess I didn't do my spiel. I lurk in Ezra's stream a lot because I'm also working on some isometric 2D stuff. We're kind of doing an isometric 2D variation of FTL faster than light. So this is like a little style guide I like to jump to whenever I'm talking about it, because this is the kind of sort of isometric perspective we're doing. We're kind of faking a lot of 3D stuff with tile maps. So most of our effort so far has been how to organize and parse these almost voxel-like, I don't use the word, but voxel-like 3D worlds that are then being converted and rendered in isometric 2D. Yeah, and we're working on some stuff that lets us process those. Most of our effort has been going into an auto tiler that can render all of this stuff from its 3D data down into a practical 2D rendering. But right now, we're working on refactoring our dynamic buffers, which is the data we want to store on an entity that is not component data. So, like a ship will have a grid of blocks, and that grid is being stored in a buffer. Right now, the buffers are static, and they had some problems with them. We just remade them, so we just recreated our block buffer as a buffer 3D. We've got read-only and read-write versions of it, and that's so that we could, and we turned them from record structs into ref structs, so that we could keep the span as a property on the struct. And that's a pretty nice thing, rather than having to pull the struct out and like pass it around, which we were having to do with our block buffer, our original block buffer. It was super awkward. Like when we did a getter default call, we had to pass the span back in. Otherwise, we were paying the cost of pulling out the buffer every time we wanted to read from it, and that was no good. So, we'll see. We never profiled the difference, so I consider it a win. Bazooka, is C# better than GDScript? That is a very tough question to answer. It depends on what you're doing. In terms of raw script performance, C# is, I think, something like 3 to 4 times faster than GDScript. If you're just talking about running like stupid benchmark test cases, that sort of thing, like stuff that's very intensive, However, if you are interacting with the engine, so like if I go into my C# script here and I've got like these calls to the engine of like levels.getNode, or like if I'm calling functions and I'm calling into the Godot API, like if I'm calling into the engine, you pay a marshalling cost when going back and forth between a managed domain like C# and an unmanaged one like Godot. So Godot, if you're just going to be interacting with the engine and you're not going to be doing a lot of other things, GDScript is better. GDScript is superior for mainly if you're mainly just, you know, calling stuff in the engine. C# has some uses. The only thing is if you're like, wow, I need to do all this simulation, I should probably like do it in a different language. You should probably just do it in C++. But for me, that was inaccessible because I'm not a C++ programmer. I have a lot of experience in C#. So for me, it was more natural to say, I want to do some work outside of the engine, but I want it to talk back to the engine occasionally. It made more sense for me to split that section of the code out to C#. But we still use GDScript in our project for like, right now it's just UI and like it's input output stuff, or it's rendering. That's what we still do. So stuff is getting rendered in the Godot engine, and obviously the UI is all through the Godot engine. But we've split our simulation layer out into a separate code base in .NET, and it barely talks to the engine except when it needs to send data back. And all of that is handled through this window, which is our game node, which is the root of our tree. Exodrifter, web build support isn't quite there yet though, but it's close. I know, it's so close. Were you there? Were you there when Adam Scott showed the world? Ooh. No Jules sharing with us some pixel art they did. Super cute. Is this like a little blue blob like from Terraria? Super adorable. That's great. But yeah, they've got it now, right? Let me grab this article. I feel like Emmy just announced the new web.NET prototype. But yeah, currently web support is not great for C#. So if that's crucial to you, I would not mess around. You were not? You had the showcase? Oh yeah, you were at the showcase the whole time. You probably barely got away from that, huh? It's okay. I didn't see Adam Scott do that either. I think I was at like Dunkin' Donuts with Bad Cop. I think we were like taking our time getting over there. Or wait, maybe that was the next day. But yeah, I wasn't there. I wasn't at that talk. But yeah, we've got an example of it. May 6th, they did a web talk. They revealed a world premiere. The VOD's not available yet, but they've already put this up. Yeah, there's this whole write-up on it about how they're gonna approach .NET on the web. So, oh man, you gotta handle a pack file of 72 megabytes. Oh man, 72 megabytes. That's just so huge. That's giving Call of Duty a run for its money. Yeah, you saw like 2 or 3 talks total. Oh well, but the showcase was great. I hope you had a good time doing that. I hope that was worth it or worthwhile. It seemed like pretty competitive. I was hearing a lot of people applied to showcase and not a lot of people got in. No, Joel. Yeah, it's a slime basically. You wanted to keep a basic shape for the first animations. I think that's a great way to practice. Oh, Kane. Oh, hey, Kane. How good are Godot signals for input? Symbol responds, as someone that has been using Godot for almost 2 years now, signals are great for input. Their whole input hierarchy system works great. Okay, yeah. I feel like I haven't done it that way. I've only done jam games in Godot, so for me it's been fine to just handle the input immediately. But setting it up as a signal seems good. What I do in my game, which is horrible and you should not do this, because I need to pass the input back across to C# so it can get processed, I basically build these string arrays I process the input here in this auto load, and we look at the game state. We evaluate the game state to decide how we want to process it, and then we start building these kind of command arguments. They're just these array strings, string arrays, and that's because the cross-domain like compatibility between GDScript and C# is not good. So the easiest thing for me to do is to just pass those command structures, all these structures of arguments over, and then to start parsing them over here on the C# side. It's pretty stupid and pretty gross way to do it, but it works for me. It deals with an annoying problem that I have trying to use both GDScript and C# in the same project. Yeah, Symbol's like, oh no. Yeah, it's not good. It is not good. Symbol, do you have the Steam page up yet? Or is that what you're working on? Oh, you posted the Steam page. Oh, you're doing your valet parking game. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, this was great. Was this your solo? Was this solo dev jam number 4? That's awesome. Everyone go wishlist this. I love your developer name, Robots in Disguise. It's so good. Oh, June 3rd. That's soon. What are you doing here? You gotta get working. What are you doing wasting time with us? Yeah, I like this game a lot. Yeah, you think 4, your first solo dev jam? That was also mine. My first and only. I actually just got a USB-C card reader in the mail yesterday. Because I'm doing a showcase tomorrow, and I'm gonna try to put mini delivery on my Steam Deck to take it there, just for fun. I haven't tried to put any of my games on Steam Deck yet, and it's pretty bad that I've left it to the last day to try, but I know I have controller support, so it should be fine. Build is submitted, just fixing bugs. That's awesome. Super cool. All right, what are we doing? Oh yeah, we need to finish refactoring the tool system here. Rig, would I do a 3-hour jam? No. It took me like 4 hours during the last Ludum Dare to just pick my idea. And I didn't do a good job. Amanda, woo! Yeah, the Bay Area Godot meetup's tomorrow, and the Bad Collective is doing a meetup. Not a meetup. They're doing a showcase event at a barcade in San Francisco after. I'm going to go to that. I agreed to show some games. I'm going to show A Following Wind Remastered, which is my Ludum Dare game. It's the remastered version of that, and I'm going to put that on the laptop, and then I'm going to take mini delivery and try to get it working on the Steam Deck. So I'll at least have a game to show if I can't get both of them. So yeah, that'll be fun. It's going to be a busy day full of game dev tomorrow. So no stream. No stream tomorrow. I'll be too busy. But your FOMO, Amanda? Yeah, sorry. Try Jam is this weekend? Is that the 3-hour jam rig? That's wild. I think I would need like a code template at least to do one of those. I would need like a very, very, very strong code template. Do they let you use art, like pre-made art? What am I doing? Oh yeah, I'm recreating the preview blocks. So the way we do this now is we say game.world.get read. Oh, I don't really want to do this. Well, for now, let's do this. Let's just get the read-write buffer. We won't worry about this. Get the read-write buffer. Block. It takes a buffer ID. Oh, I didn't finish writing this. I probably should have just clicked through. Here we go. Open Sesame. Oh, this does just take a buffer ID. How am I doing that here then? So new buffer 3D. Oh, I'm not getting a buff. I get the buffer inside the component. I just create a new component. Oopsies. I forgot how this worked. I forgot how I just refactored my code to work. So it's like this. And then the same thing for the preview block. Hey, Skywalk. The link in Discord. Thanks, Rig. Did you fix that last stream issue? Indexed or workaround? We settled on a new buffer, dynamic buffer structure. It's still not dynamic. It's still static only, but we can fix that. But yeah, we're pretty pleased with our new solution. We store the span directly on the buffer. It's a ref struct, so we only pay for it once when we create the struct. And it's a lot easier to pass around and do what we want to do. So I'm pretty pleased with it. How are you doing? I was lurking in one of your streams the other day. I was really upset because I think it was yesterday. I had just achieved 420 followers, and I hopped into your stream, and I was like, this guy's got 421 followers. That's not, I will not stand. Skywalk, you remember I mentioned your name for your suggestion from a non-C# programmer of indexed the cast thing. Oh yeah, we were talking. So that's what we were talking about. We were talking about the cost of casting from byte to type to whatever type we're using. So buffer 3D read only has a type. So when we do the get read only buffer, we have to do the memory marshal.cast byte to t. Yeah. I'm just paying for it. It looks like it's dirt cheap because literally all it does is it just changes the size of the span. The span is still just a pointer to a place in memory, and all that changes is like what the count is. So like how it indexed through. So yeah, we could have avoided this and handled the indexing ourselves, but I feel like I'm willing to pay for this just to not worry about it. But yeah, it was a good idea. I considered it. You're doing great. You don't stream often. You made 4 skins for an IO game you played. Yeah, I was curious to see what you were working on. At first, it looked like it was like Blockbench or something, and then I could tell it was like something a little different, maybe. I was busy at work, and I was just bouncing around Twitch, but I found it interesting to watch you work for a bit. I'm glad I got to catch one of your streams. You got a 3-day long weekend? Oh, hell yeah. That's not me this weekend. That's me next weekend. Next weekend, the weekend ends with Memorial Day, so I've got a 3-day weekend, but not this weekend. But that's cool. Take it easy. Don't work too hard. All right, so we can just pull these. So now a bunch of functions don't work anymore. Like most of the functions don't work anymore. Keep. All right, let's go through them. You make skins and maps for Kirka.io. Okay. Kirka.io. This is funny. What's the gameplay of this? I see the like little guns and the little like they're like Minecraft Steves. So that's like what you were making. You're making your own little like Minecraft duders. Is the gameplay like a Fortnite style thing? I don't want to try to play it right now. Looks cool though. All right, Rig was sending us something about the Tri-Jam. Tri-Jam 322, which starts very soon. 3-hour game jam. It's a shooter? Okay, cool. It's like a 3D third-person shooter or something. 65 joined. Submissions due in 2 days. 12 hours, 39 minutes, 52 seconds. How are there 2 entries? Oh, is this like the sort of thing where it's like you have 3 hours to make the game? And it's like you're kind of just... It's you need to... it's just honesty. Just like don't spend more than 3 hours on this. You're allowed to go overtime. Oh, okay. This seems cool. Seems like a fun jam. It's a first-person shooter with a broad range of game modes. Lightweight. Yeah, cool. It looks like it runs in a browser. That's pretty dope. All right, let's finish refactoring here. So any reference to block buffer needs to become a reference to buffer 3. You know, actually, I could probably just search for block buffer. 16 references. Block buffer component is okay. So this one is going to be block 3. What do we call it? We call it buffer 3D read write block span. We don't need to get the span, do we? We can just say buffer dot span index. We can say buffer dot span index equals erase block buffer dot span triad buffer dot span index. Is this the same? Yeah, I might store that as a variable, but whatever. Should be fine. I trust the compiler to optimize this. Compiler's gonna do a better job than I ever would. So span, I don't think we need to store the span. I think that's unnecessary. I'm not doing a good job of moving around. I told myself I would move around while standing for the stream. And I'm like, I was like leaning forward against my desk. Yeah, my body does not feel good. Copy this. Can I get one of those machines you got to balance on while you work? Yeah, or like the medicine ball, something like that. I had a balance board. I hate it. I hate those things because they're not very comfortable for your feet. Like right now, I actually have one of those comfort pads. They're not flat. They have like it's like a flat base pad, and then around the edges they have these like ergonomic like little mountainous regions, and it's so like you can like bend your foot over them. But they don't force you to like move. They just provide you like ways of bending your feet and like keeping your feet from feeling bad. So it's great for your foot, but it's like it's still up to you to like move around. But how are you? How are you, Connie? Hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Stop grabbing the span. Buffer.span. Maybe I do store the span. I don't know. I think this is fine. It is a ref, so it's like storing it wouldn't matter. Or it's a by ref-like object. Can a senior? That's Skywalk's guess on the pronunciation. Yeah, I wasn't sure about the SR. I just don't pronounce it. When people have acronyms in their name, I typically just fail. I called this guy yesterday on YouTube who was like very knowledgeable and very great, and I hope they come back. But they were like, it was like Ben, aka Kalaris, and I didn't realize it was AKA, so I was just like, oh hey Ben, aka Kalaris. And then I just called him Ben because I was like, I don't know how to pronounce the rest of this. That's like the silliest streamer brain kind of stuff that you get. That if you make a mistake like that offline, you're like, wow, I'm so dumb. But when you're in the middle of a stream, those kind of brain farts happen all the time. All right, we're working our way through here. Through all these errors. Once I get these function errors out of the way, it should be pretty easy to fix the other stuff. And then if I have time... Oh, I'm not going to have time. So yeah, let's try to finish refactoring this file. This is going to remain a static buffer. We don't have time to turn it into a dynamic buffer, like to add the functionality necessary for like reallocating it. But that's fine, because I would argue that's not actually a refactor. That's probably like a new feature. Oh, copy to clipboard. This could be a read-only function, and this is maybe the awkwardness of the way I've written this system, where this could be read-only, but because the buffer we're getting is read-write, I don't have it set up like that. And that's maybe the argument for having a buffer 3D that has access to its read-write and its read-only. Buffers. It's like the same buffer with different permissions. I don't know. I think it's fine because the tool system has the permission to write to these. If we want to fine-grain it, we can, like within the switch statement. But that would be another refactor, and we don't really care about that until we're keeping track of changes. As long as we don't keep a track of changes, we really don't care whether someone's using the read-only or not correctly. So all of those helper functions are fixed. Now it's just this main tree. So we don't need to pass the span anymore. That's an easy one to fix. Deselect blocks. Preview blocks. Oh, I declared these as read-onlys. They need to be buffer 3D read-writes. Oh, does that not? Cannot resolve constructor. Oh, I didn't write this correctly. Yeah, I gotta rewrite this as an iBuffer component. All right, that should be fine now. There you go. Oh, that was most of the errors. Okay, thank God. I thought there were like hundreds of errors. And by thank God, I mean thank Godot. Godot. Why are we getting the span here? Am I doing that somewhere else too and I just ignored it? Yeah, I might want to be more particular about declaring the blocks. I wonder if this just works. Should we do a quick does this work test? Block buffer has 8 references. The component type reference is the one I'm most concerned with. Flags.block buffer, component, block buffer, component. I might take the word component out. All right, I do like the idea of calling it blocks component or something like that. If not, if anything else. I just want to make sure it's very clear that this is not a buffer. Godot, you say, but people say Godot. I say Godot, and I think it has to do with the play, the waiting for Godot. That's like how it's normally said, at least where I'm from. But there was a really great argument in the GodotCon Boston Discord where everyone was arguing over text how to pronounce Godot, but no one ever wrote it phonetically. They just kept spelling it Godot, and they were like, "No, it's Godot, not Godot." And it was really fun to see. That was a really funny argument. I actually fully understand and actually kind of agree with the Godot pronunciation. Because Godot is like robot, and that's like what this little guy is, right? This little guy. This little cute. This little guy. This guy's a robot, right? But he's a Godot bot. People call him Godot bot, right? So, or do they call him Godot bot? So I get it. I get the robot equivalent pronunciation. So I endorse those two pronunciations, but there is officially no official pronunciation. Calamity Corbin, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate that. Let me see if I've now got as many followers as Skywalk. I'm not competitive. No, dang it, you pulled ahead still. 425. I'll catch you. I'll catch you yet. Unless the creator is French, it should be Godot. The creator's from South America, so who knows? Again, there is officially no official pronunciation. I think I've heard them pronounce. I've heard Juan pronounce it and Ariel, and I think they both say Godot or Godot. They pronounce the T. A lot of people pronounce the T. How's it going, Calamity? No problemo. I really appreciate that. Godot should use Golang. I've never even read Waiting for Godot, is the irony. I wish I had gotten to see the Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen rendition of it. I could have died right after that. That would have been good for me. Calamity, you're working on your project, so you'll probably go back to lurking. No worries. Appreciate it. We're probably going to raid out soon. I normally like to go a bit later, but I started late, and I need to end early, and it's a little rough for us. rig. You don't think Golang was a thing when Godot was first made public? Who knows? Because Godot was made public in what, like 2014? Something like that? All right. What am I doing? Oh, yeah, I was checking for the remaining references to block buffer. Game. Ah, gotta fix this. All right, what else do we got? The fill system. I almost just wanna, I'm just gonna not run the fill system. Where's the main system? Here it is. We're just gonna stop running the fill system because it doesn't seem to be doing anything right now. Stupid Hawker with the hydrate. Skywalk, you speak French, so it makes sense for Godot. A lot of French speaking in South Africa. Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that. Golang was 2007. Oh, that's old hat, as they say, as someone probably said at some point. All right, so we'll leave the fill system references in place because I can't be bothered, and the only remaining reference is in itself. So, moment of truth. We're going to run this. It's going to crash, and then I'm going to say I don't have time to fix it, and we'll end the stream. Oh, is it just going to work? Never mind. I'm a genius. The new block buffers just work. Happy days. Okay. I see you. I see you out here working. Selection's working as well. All right. Very pleased. We're very pleased with this. I was really concerned I was going to leave the system in a broken state. Well, the rotation works too. Everything works. I mean, the outline, it renders a little weird, but that's fine. We know about that. Huzzah. Kane, that reminds you of Theme Hospital? Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I think we're going to end up being a little slower as a game. I think we're going to end up being more like RimWorld kind of vibes. What did I change? I made unsaved changes. Oh. Well, I didn't actually change anything. There you go. The editor? Yeah, the editor is kind of where we put all of our effort into. It's kind of all we have, so I hope it looks good. But yeah, next week we will get back to working directly on the editor. We will get the separate preview and committed layers working together. So we'll have to figure out some merging mechanics for those. And then I really want to be done with that part of this. I really want to finish up the editor and be done soon. Like, pretty desperately want to be done with the editor soon. Kind of desperately need to be done. All right, we're gonna raid. Where are we raiding? Maybe Aramis? I haven't raided Aramis. Oh, Covino. Covino's on. Probably gonna raid Covino. Thanks for the stream. Thanks for hanging out, EXO. It was great meeting you at GodotCon. So let's hang out with another streamer that I met at GodotCon. Need editor to make the game? Of course. Of course you need the editor to make a game. To make the game. You can't just make a game. That's crazy. That's almost illegal. Anyway. This has been fun. Yeah, thanks. Have a great day. I appreciate that. I want to wish you the same. No stream tomorrow, because like I said, I'm going to a showcase at night, and I'm going to a local Godot meetup during the day. Wish me luck trying to get my one of my games onto my Steam Deck with literally no time. Snoozing the ad. Fun stream. I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll be back next week. We stream Tuesday through Saturday every week, pretty much, barring, you know, special events. Yeah. I appreciate all the new faces this week. Bazooka, thank you for the follow. Good luck with your sprites. Calamity Corbin, good luck with your project as well. Yeah. I want to say one more time, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Ezra, obviously, for the shout out. Or not the shout out, the raid. I'll give Ezra a shout out. Thank you all so much for watching. Yeah, we're raiding out now. I'll see you next time. Bye.